How did Sean "Diddy" Combs go from facing life behind bars to getting a standing ovation in prison? This isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's a wild story of courtroom battles, shocking admissions, emotional twists, and a legal strategy so bold it left even federal prosecutors scrambling. One of the most powerful names in music was staring down charges that could have ended his life as he knew it: sex trafficking, racketeering, and a mountain of allegations that seemed impossible to beat. But instead of fading under the pressure, Diddy did something no one expected. And when the verdict finally came, it sent shockwaves not just through the courtroom, but through the prison walls themselves. Here's how it all went down. When the verdict was announced, even those closest to Sean "Diddy" Combs held their breath. After months of intense legal drama, the music mogul's fate hinged on a decision that surprised almost everyone involved. Diddy was found guilty, but only partially. The jury convicted him on prostitution-related charges, yet, in a stunning turn of events, he was cleared of the far more severe allegations of sex trafficking and racketeering, charges that could have landed him in prison for life. The acquittal on these most serious counts shocked prosecutors, spectators, and even Diddy himself. In just a few minutes, his potential life sentence vanished, leaving only the question of how long he'd remain behind bars for the lesser conviction. But how exactly did the jury come to this unexpected conclusion? The answer lies in a trial strategy that no one saw coming, and the remarkable reactions that followed inside the courtroom and beyond. When Diddy returned to jail following the dramatic verdict, he probably expected silence, or at best, quiet sympathy. Instead, he was greeted like a hero. As soon as he stepped back into the prison block, the atmosphere erupted in applause, with inmates rising to their feet and cheering the music icon who'd just beaten the odds. This wasn't your usual celebrity treatment. These were hardened inmates celebrating someone who, in their eyes, had done the impossible. According to Diddy's attorney, Marc Agnifilo, inmates explained their admiration plainly. "We never get to see anyone who beats the government." To them, Diddy represented something far bigger, a rare victory against a system they felt was unbeatable. The applause wasn't just about Diddy. It symbolized hope, resilience, and perhaps most importantly, the belief that sometimes even the most unlikely battles could be won. But how exactly did his legal team manage to secure such a groundbreaking victory? That story would unfold with a legal strategy that was as shocking as it was brilliant. To pull off this seemingly impossible win, Diddy's lawyers didn't sugarcoat the truth. They openly embraced it. His defense team took a shocking gamble by admitting up front that Diddy was far from innocent. They openly described him to jurors as a jealous boyfriend with a troubled past. Someone involved in drugs and domestic violence, living a lifestyle that most would find disturbing. Why admit these damning details? Because it was a masterstroke. By highlighting his flaws so transparently, they prevented the prosecution from weaponizing them. Instead of painting Diddy as a perfect figure falsely accused, his team made it crystal clear. Yes, he was flawed, deeply flawed, but none of this made him guilty of sex trafficking or racketeering. Amazingly, the defense called no witnesses, not one. Instead, they skillfully dismantled the prosecution's case during cross-examinations alone, leaving jurors with a clear line between moral failings and actual crimes. This bold approach was risky, but it worked. However, there was a critical moment when even this carefully planned strategy seemed to falter, nearly tipping everything toward disaster. Despite the brilliant defense, Diddy's fate still teetered on the edge of disaster. Midway through deliberations, the jury sent back a chilling message. They were deadlocked. Doubt gripped the courtroom. Could everything collapse now, after months of strategic planning and emotional battles? That night, uncertainty consumed Diddy's legal team. Attorney Marc Agnifilo admitted he couldn't sleep, pacing nervously, trying to decipher what had gone wrong. Then, at 3 a.m, a sudden realization hit him. He frantically texted his co-counsel, predicting a partial victory, believing that the jury's deadlock actually meant they would acquit on the severe charges. Renewed hope surged through the defense team. The next morning, Diddy entered the courtroom visibly rejuvenated. But could Agnifilo's late-night hunch truly predict what the jury was about to announce? What happened next sent shockwaves through the courtroom and left everyone stunned. As the jury re-entered the courtroom, silence fell over everyone. Diddy stood motionless. Family members clasped hands, and even his confident legal team held their breath. The foreperson began reading the verdict, and in seconds, shock turned to relief. Not guilty on sex trafficking. Not guilty on racketeering. The courtroom exploded. Diddy smiled, visibly overwhelmed, mouthing a heartfelt "thank you" to the jurors who had just changed his life. Behind him, his family burst into tears of relief. Supporters erupted into applause, and some even began chanting, "Dream Team! Dream Team!" toward his lawyers. It was a dramatic victory, rarely seen in high-profile trials of this nature. Even the seasoned attorneys, who'd navigated dozens of tough cases, found themselves emotional and teary-eyed, understanding how close they'd come to a devastating defeat. But this moment of celebration raised an important question. How exactly had this legal team pulled off what seemed impossible? The answer lies in the fascinating background of their lead attorney, whose past gave him unique insight into dismantling the very laws he once enforced. Behind every courtroom drama is a mastermind, and in this case, it was Marc Agnifilo, a lawyer with a uniquely ironic history. Before defending celebrities, Agnifilo spent years as a federal prosecutor, aggressively using racketeering laws to take down organized crime. Now, he was using that deep understanding to expose the weaknesses in the government's own case. Throughout the trial, Agnifilo systematically dismantled the prosecution's claims by targeting what he called dozens of fail points in their argument. He knew precisely how these complex charges worked, and more importantly, how they could fall apart. His insider knowledge gave the defense an extraordinary advantage, making even seasoned prosecutors appear unprepared. But perhaps most impressive was the way Agnifilo and his team handled witnesses without ever calling their own. They calmly and methodically picked apart testimony, carefully steering jurors away from confusing moral wrongdoing with criminal behavior. With the trial behind him, Diddy had narrowly escaped catastrophe. But would he finally confront the personal demons that brought him here in the first place? Even though Diddy had escaped the most serious charges, he knew his journey was far from over. Now facing several more years behind bars, he had time to reflect, not just on his victory, but on his personal battles. His attorney revealed that Diddy planned to continue a domestic batterers program he'd just begun prior to his arrest, finally confronting the troubling behaviors that had haunted him for years. In jail, away from the bright lights and the constant applause, Diddy was finally forced to acknowledge something deeper. Fame and fortune could hide his flaws, but they could never erase them. Friends, family, and even Diddy himself admitted he had plenty to work on, and this realization marked a significant turning point in his life. But just as Diddy prepared to turn inward, a bizarre twist awaited his lawyer outside the courtroom, making this extraordinary day even stranger than anyone could have imagined. Just as attorney Marc Agnifilo thought the day's emotional roller coaster was finally slowing down, chaos erupted right outside the courtroom. A man suddenly collapsed into violent seizures near the elevators, catching everyone off guard, including Diddy's legal team. Reacting instinctively, Agnifilo leaped into action. He rushed to the man's side, carefully positioning him to prevent choking and injury. Agnifilo's daughter quickly checked the man's pulse, while a colleague provided emergency support. In minutes, rescue workers arrived, taking the man to safety, but not before leaving the stunned attorney questioning what else this unpredictable day might have in store. Reflecting afterward, Agnifilo described the moment as feeling punked by God, a surreal conclusion to a case already filled with shocking twists and turns. As the dust settled, everyone was left with the same lingering question. Could this trial, full of courtroom drama, personal revelations, and bizarre coincidences, ultimately reveal something bigger about the nature of celebrity and justice in America? Diddy's trial wasn't just about guilt or innocence. It exposed something deeper. The dramatic twists, shocking courtroom moments, and unexpected prison ovation forced everyone watching to reconsider what fame truly means. Does celebrity status protect people, or does it expose their flaws even more glaringly? As Sean Diddy Combs faces his personal demons behind bars, we're left wondering, Is this a cautionary tale about power gone wrong, or a rare story of someone finally confronting who they really are beneath the glittering surface? One thing's certain, this trial didn't just reveal secrets about Diddy, it revealed the complicated truth about the price of fame itself.